Welcome to Hollywood Talks. I am your host, Bel Hernandez Castillo. The 2024 Oscar season has started, and some of the projects have already been announced that they have qualified and will be eligible for an Academy Award member voting for their project. And today, David is joining us to talk about his first directorial and getting his project on the road to a possible Oscar nomination. I would love to welcome author, docu-film producer, digital artist, humanitarian border relief volunteer, and activist, and my friend, David Damian Figueroa, to Hollywood Talks. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Belle. I appreciate it. Yes, we're very, very excited that we've qualified for the category of documentary film short.
I had the pleasure of seeing the film in a big theater, and it's a beautiful film. It's a touching film. It really gets you, in your heart. And it's so needed, and it's so relevant even after all of these years that immigration has been an issue.
There's been a lot of news. It's been articles, TV segments, and some documentaries that talk about immigration. This is not necessarily a film about immigration. It's really it's a story that we don't hear in the news. The unique part of this is you have a white woman who's leading 300 volunteers on a border town, and that in and of itself is, I think, newsworthy because there's a lot of rhetoric that say that a lot of white people are against immigrations or against immigrants or against this whole idea of people coming into the country, which is something that we've always done. This film is about how one person can make a difference. We always hear about people making a difference. This is a film that I feel that we hit the mark on how one person can make a difference and motivate others to make a difference. This is about humanitarian relief. This is about people feeding people and really doing something in the moment in a non-judgmental way. Liberals and conservatives working together to provide relief to people that are on the verge of losing their lives, on the verge of having to find a new home, a new place in the world because they no longer have a home. So that is what this film is about, and that's what I want to convey to Academy members. And just watch it. If you don't vote for it,
why don't we do this? Let's watch the trailer.
Okay.
Right now.
My focus here is migrants and helping them and ensuring that they don't die on the desert.
The Supreme Court has temporarily blocked the lifting of this pandemic-era immigration policy that is known as Title 42.
The pandemic-era policy allows the U.S. government to prevent migrants from entering the United States and expels those who do cross in the name of coronavirus prevention.
What is causing all of this upheaval in these countries?
Hate.
Is violence. See the guy just right there on the street, right here? He's the lookout for the cartel. Look at this. Underwear. It's a child's.
Among the bodies recovered, a 5-year-old girl who was swept out of her mother's arms last month.
Finding a deceased individual was horrible. He was just on his back with his hands in supplication. All of the red dots are where bodies have been found. It just boggles my mind, the journey that they have to make. I mean, we have friends who do not agree with this at all. Yet you find somebody, you have to turn them in, you have to do this, that, and the other thing. Well, I don't go along with that at all.
We get overrun every day by the cartels, the criminals, the drugs.
Who's using the drugs? It's not the people south of the border, for the most part. It's our insatiable appetite. And you can only imagine how frightened they must be and how easy it is to get discombobulated out here. So I'm surrounded by people who don't like what I'm doing.
When your goal in life is to hate, you rot from within.
See you later, hon. Bye-bye.
Shura kind of has this aura around herself of just joy and happiness. They immediately see kind of a Mother Teresa-like figure that's going to be there for them and guide them and give them strength.
Also, I want you all to know I have a black belt in karate.
This is your directorial, and congratulations. You did an excellent job. And you co-produce with Kayvon, and you'll tell us all about Kayvon in a little bit. But also, this is not your first time out with films. You've produced other films. Can you tell us a little bit about what films you produced and your experience on that end of producing?
Sure. First of all, I got into film because of my dear friend Eva Longoria. There was a project on farm worker issues, and it followed the lives of migrant children. And that film was called The Harvest, La Cosecha, The Children Who Feed America. And I grew up as a child farm worker, so naturally, Eva called me and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to be a part of this." And so that led into a documentary film short, which is called Inocente. And when I was at MALDEF, the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, we partnered on that documentary film short. That was done by Shine Global, and they won the Academy Award for that. So that was quite incredible, and that led me into a documentary called Food Chains. Eva and I were at the California Community Foundation, and we were doing a screening and a panel discussion on La Cosecha, the harvest. And Eric Schlosser was in the audience, also one of the panelists. He called me later and said, "Hey, there's this documentary called Food Chains, and it's being directed by a director by the name of Sanjay Rawal." And so that was another 3 years of fundraising, and I was executive producer on that one. And we ended up getting shortlisted for the Oscar then. So it was really, really exciting. Opened up in Berlin in Germany, and went to Tribeca and a lot of other places like that. And so that was an incredible run. And I recently partnered with Pepe Serna and Scotland Pictures with Kayvon Derek-Shenian. We did Life is Art. We did the whole film festival circuit with that. And some other films. One is called Abuelo. And now we're on to Shura. So it's been a journey.
Why I wanted to ask you why the topic of Shura. I've met Shura. She's an amazing woman, and I've seen the documentary and I know what she's done. But tell us, how did you meet her, and how did you decide that this was going to be your next project?
Yeah, so when I was at MALDEF, I was campaigning and doing the PR for the attorneys that were getting ready to file a lawsuit against what they were calling the anti-immigrant, anti-Latino legislation in Arizona. And that was called a bill called SB 1070. And it was just really a lot of vitriol surrounded by that. So I'm not exactly sure how I met Linda Ronstadt, but I ended up at her house, and we were talking about doing a concert, and we really needed her on this campaign because she is from Arizona, from Tucson, and I also grew up as a child in Tucson, so we always revered Linda. And so push come to shove, we do this press conference. It's at the Capitol. There's like 52 cameras. It's huge. Tom Sines, Dolores Huerta, Richard Chavez, Cesar Chavez's brother, and other activists were there. And it was just a very tense, very, you could tell when things are historic and something, great is about to happen. This was one of those moments. And then after we finished, we were, Linda told me about this woman that was at the border of Arizona near Nogales in a little area called Green Valley. So if you ever make it out there, please give her a call and tell her, I introduced you. So I got invited by Linda's brother, Michael Ronstadt, to do Common Ground on the Border in Green Valley, Arizona. It's coming up again in January. And they wanted to show Food Chains. So I met her. She took me out to the border. She showed me the the El Comedor, which is where like a food kitchen where they serve hundreds and hundreds of migrants every single day. A lot of them seeking asylum, a lot of them just you know uh, torn apart from their families because of violence, because of political situations, because of uh, cartels and things like that that are happening in their villages in Mexico and in other countries. And so it was very eye-opening. And when I was there, I told Shura, I said, would you ever be interested in doing a documentary about your life? And she was like, okay, but not really, because she's into all the work. And so I just kept going every year to the border and doing this work. And then, I told Shura one day I'm going to move to Green Valley and we're going to do a documentary. And we're doing this recording now from Green Valley, and the documentary is done.
How did you meet your partner, that is your co-producer and your co-director?
I met Kayvon Derek Shanian through Pepe Serna, who's a very, very dear friend. Um, I've known Pepe for a long, long time, and he goes, "There's this guy. His name is Kayvon." Pepe said, "I want to get him to finish up the project called Life is Art." And I've been telling Pepe that you need to finish up this documentary. It's been on for such a long time, in the process of being produced. So he introduced me to Kayvon, and then Pepe took on a film project that Kayvon wanted to do called Abuelo. And we went through the whole film festival circuit. It's a wonderful film. And Pepe said, if I'm going to do this film, I want my friend David Damian to be executive producer because he does a lot of promotion and helps a lot. So I didn't know him, and so I met him later. And so, the way we ended up working on Shura is that I was producing a farm worker justice event, and we were honoring Shura for her humanitarian work. So the next day, I'm at the hotel with Shura, and she goes, "Hey, there's this guy I met. He was at the event. He was sitting close to me, and he says he wants to do a documentary on my life." And I said, "Really?" I said, "But you told me that you wanted to work with me." And she goes, "Yes, I know." But I said, "So does he look like this?" And I was showing her a bunch of photos of people on my iPhone. And and I finally came up to Kayvon. She goes, "That's him." So I immediately picked up Kayvon, picked up the phone and called Kayvon. And I said, "Let's do this documentary." And he goes, "No, no, no, if you want to do it, then you go ahead." I said, "No, I can't do it without you." So that was like one of those divine intervention moments, right?
I wanted to talk about the journey, because you just talked about your journey, your personal journey, but the journey of how to get a project to be considered to where you're at, to be eligible, to qualify for eligibility to be considered for an Oscar. A lot of filmmakers don't have that in mind when they shoot their projects, but I think we all should, because if you believe in your project. But there has to be an intentional way of doing it, because there are rules to be able to be eligible. You
Right.
need to show at certain festivals. Give us a little bit of that insight.
Yeah, I think that if you're, an aspiring filmmaker, I never went to film school, but I've always had people around me, or I have, inserted or attracted people in the film industry that are just a wealth of knowledge, people that have had, huge trajectories and huge bodies of work that, where they have the experience of, in the film industry. And I really research on, those that know me know that I do a lot of research before I write, and it's all there on the internet.
Mhm.
I think the same thing applies for filmmaking. If you want to know how to create an Oscar qualified film, you have to have people that know how to have been on that journey before. And you're not talking about Spielbergs and people that are continuous filmmakers that make their livelihood off of making films. And so nobody is going to become rich making a documentary about farm workers. At least we didn't. But you have to believe in the product you're doing. I think that perspective of how you approach certain issues and make them very credible and make them very, tell the truth about what an issue is and take that journey. It's sometimes a courageous journey. Actually, it's always a courageous journey because, telling the truth is an act of courage. So I think that, and then there's also the technical part. If you go online to the Academy, it tells you exactly all the rules and regulations that you need to follow in order to get your film. There's one of the things is you have to have, a week run in a theater in Los Angeles. There's
And
all
that's
kinds of
where I saw your film.
yes.
Yes, it was wonderful to see it on a big, big screen.
Yeah, and there's a saying that says there's in Los Angeles, there's two things that make you a great friend. One of them is someone that'll pick you up from the airport after you've
Yeah.
had a long trip, and the other one that will go see your film at a theater trying to qualify for the Oscar, right? And you were one of those folks, so I really appreciate that.
Oh,
But yeah, it takes on a different a whole new connotation when you see something on the big screen. And it's also, a great feeling because you know that um, that in and of itself is an achievement, for any filmmaker, I think. The other thing too is there's all these rules you have to follow, which when you're promoting, a documentary or any film that's been qualified for the Oscar. So I would recommend anyone who starts doing a film to really approach it from the idea that you want to have the best product you possibly can have. Not only the content, but also that you make yourself eligible to um, get on this journey of the Oscars.
and also, uh, now that we talk about the journey, the end of the journey is the voting. So there are nearly 10,000 people who are in the Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences
Wow.
who are the ones that get to vote. And there's like 15 or 16 branches. There's an actor branch, a director, a writer, costume designer, all that. So that's the way the voting is done. This is a way to get our word out. What are you going to tell people that are members or non-members? Everyone who is watching this, if you love this interview, please share it. Share it because this is a filmmaker who is asking for visibility so that they can vote for his film, because it's really hard. When people do Oscar campaigns, they spend a lot of money, and independent filmmakers don't have that much money to promote. So social media and interviews like this will help. So what would you like to say to all the members and anybody that's out there? How can they support?
Well, I think every filmmaker knows who's done independent film knows that you have to put blood, sweat, and tears and your own resources, and you have to go out and pretty much ask friends and do crowdfunding and all the things that you need to do, and sometimes beg people to help you. And yes, it costs a lot of money to do these campaigns for the Oscars. We don't have that kind of budget, so we're always grateful to you, Belle. I mean, every Latino actor that's ever had their first article can attribute Latin Heat magazine, Latin Heat Entertainment, and specifically you, Belle, for giving us that attention.
And
And
every member, please go watch the full documentary. It's on the Academy website, because it is, like you say, not just about immigration. It's about one woman's effort. Like you said, one person can make a difference. I want to thank you so much for being here, David, and sharing your journey as a filmmaker. Your life is amazing. I'd like to do a whole interview on just your whole life. But this portion, and where you are is a culmination right now of where you have been and everything that you've brought to this project. And I know that there's a lot more that you're doing that's going to be even more fantastic, which we can't talk about. But there's wonderful things that he's working on. And we just look forward to maybe having you again back with us to talk about that. But thank you so much for being here and just letting people know about this beautiful project.
Thank you, Belle. Thank you, everyone who helped make this film possible, and everyone at LatinHeat Entertainment.
Gracias.